Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mean Green Gridiron podcast, the second regular season episode of the 2025 season. I'm your host Billy Sierra, and I'm joined once again by Carter, Mr. One and Zero. Carter, how's it going? He's got a North Texas shirt on, guys.
I do. I had the crew neck ready to go tonight. Haven't had a chance to move the flag, but considering my mean greener 1-0, might have to get on that. Yeah, I'm doing good, man. It's nice to do a winning pod always, even if it's an expected win.
Yeah, yeah, expected win, but the margin that was definitely what I think what we wanted to see in particular. Obviously we've won the FCS games, no issues lately, but it's I guess maybe some issues is the problem. They haven't been as smooth sailing as we would have liked, and this one was about as dominant as it gets, 51-0, and the defense getting its first shutout since 2003, which was insane to me. I know I know shutouts are pretty rare, but geez, yeah, I didn't realize it had been that long. So what were your takeaways just from watching that game and the mess to maker, new look defense? What were kind of some of your impressions?
It was nice. I was at a family party where we were watching football all day, and not many of them had an interest in watching UNT, so I had it on my laptop. So I kind of had to keep an eye on. I didn't get to watch the full game until the next morning. I've watched it twice since, but I was kind of keeping an eye on it and just trying my best to watch it. While I think it was the LSU game was on at the same time. Um, it was nice because every time I'd go inside to get something to eat or like go get a snack, or like we were going up by another touchdown. It felt like. Um,
Yeah,
but I was really I told you before in our preview pod, I was so excited to see the defense and see what this unit was capable of against an inferior opponent. Um, we talked about the last couple of years how this team has struggled to dominate these games, and it sounds so conceited to be like, expecting that. But when you're playing a not great FCS, I mean, it's excusable if you're playing like South Dakota State or something, maybe, and that game's a little bit closer. But when you're playing a not great opponent at a lower tier, you want to expect to, beat them pretty handily. And I was super pleased with what I saw. Drew Messmaker looked as good as we could have hoped. I think he probably had about 5 passes that weren't catchable, and the rest were on the money. Um, Looks calm and collected. We talked about it a little bit uh, in the chat on Twitter, but he doesn't seem like he's totally ready to be a running threat, and that's okay. I think you can see that the athleticism is there for him to become one at some point, but it's just not there yet. But the passes looked great. He looked composed, which even against Lamar, that's his first start at home, probably had some butterflies, and he looked. You never would have been able to tell. So, uh, love seeing that from him. I loved how the defensive line seemed to kind of blow past some offensive linemen at points. It felt a little bit kind of more as the game went on that we out physicaled them and had better durability, better athletes on the field. Ethan Day had a great game. I was keeping an eye on him. He was just like I lost track of how many times I watched him blow past the lineman. So
yeah,
super happy with that. Everything looked good, man. I really just can't praise the defense enough. It says something when you haven't shut out a team in 22 years. I mean, this is before our students at the game were born. Like,
yeah,
this is a big deal. It's a big deal to shut out a team, even if it's Lamar or whoever. It doesn't matter who you're playing. If you shut somebody out, that's very impressive. So, um, I really like how this team just showed up and looked better on Saturday. And my last point, I'll go back to from the previews. You set yourself up with momentum going into a road game against a team you've never played before in Western Michigan. So you really only have film to study. You don't have any sort of anything to go off. Uh, you build momentum when you beat a team like 51-0. You build confidence, even if it might be feigned in the fact that you're playing, an okay Southland Conference team. You still beat the crap out of them, and I think that creates a good energy and good momentum going into the rest of the season. So I don't know how you could ask for anything better than a 51-0 win. But yeah, we can get into some players and talk about their performances. I thought uh, we could do that next, I guess. But overall thoughts, but couldn't be happier. Couldn't be
Yeah.
happier. Vibes are great.
Yeah, and it just the talent level looked good, like you said. I mean, Ethan Day in particular really did stand out. The secondary, I don't know what the longest pass was that they completed, but it would have been, I think, probably like a catch and run. But almost all of their completions were not a lot of air yards.
Mhm.
It was check downs. It was
You're
short
right.
stuff. They were not able to have a pass rush or have a pass protection hold up or a receiver get open downfield. We really stifled their passing game in terms of them not being able to do what they really wanted to do
And
in the
can I make
passing game.
one note real quick on those checkdowns? Like, I figured that might be a way they tried to approach getting passing yards on us. There were a couple plays where we got beat on some 7, 8, 9 yard gains on some checkdowns, but for the most part, our guys did a great job of open field tackling
Yeah,
on Saturday.
for
Like
sure.
a great job compared to what we're used to seeing from North Texas. Like guys were wrapping up and like preventing them from like one-on-one matchups went our way for the most part, and you're not going to hold a quarterback to 40 yards passing, but they really limited that because, like you said, they couldn't beat us over the top. So they did go to a lot of checkdowns, and I was so proud of our defense for actually being able to go one on one and beat these guys and wrap up. It felt nice to see. It was definitely a refreshing take on our defense.
Yeah. The wrapping up and actually getting guys down, preventing the long yard after catch plays. Obviously the shutout was the first since 2003, but I would be really interested to see when is the last time that we held a team to 119 yards. I mean that to me is more impressive, I think, than the shutout itself. They threw the ball 27 times for 88 yards. That's bad if they were running the ball 27 times for 88 yards. And then rushing, they went 27 carries for 31 yards. Obviously, sacks included in that, but still, I mean that to me was just the most dominant defensive performance I've ever seen at North Texas. And I think there were a few moments in particular where it kind of really dawned on me how different the defense is from what we had the last 2 years. Not
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of obviously uh, making plays and getting stops and all that, but there was a play in particular where they had a Coleman, their quarterback, tried to scramble out the play where Ethan Day got his sack, and for the first time in a while, we had a guy who Ethan Day hit him with the old "Where do you think you're going?" and
Uh huh.
grabbed him up from behind.
Face down.
That yeah, that was really nice to see, because the problem with the 3-3-5 stack look that we've been running the past few years is that you have to have big defensive linemen if you only have three out there. And so you're putting big defensive linemen out. Well, then who's the defensive lineman who's setting the edge for you? Who's the defensive lineman who is containing the pocket or chasing a quarterback down outside the pocket? If you're going to have big defensive linemen, then they're probably not going to be very mobile. If you get a big defensive lineman who's that athletic, he's probably going to Alabama or whatever big school you want to name. Like it's hard to get linemen big enough to play in that scheme, but also athletic enough to really put pressure on the edge. And so we just didn't have that. Not it's hard to get that at North Texas. I think that's why that scheme hasn't worked in the past for Clint Bowen either.
Yep.
And Ethan Day, that was a big difference there of like you've got a legit guy off the edge. And it wasn't just Ethan Day. Zaylen Scott had a sack, nice looking sack at the end of the first half. Um, Wes Losky, obviously he's not a defensive end, but he was a guy who was getting in the backfield on pass plays and rush plays. So there was a lot more athleticism coming at the quarterbacks past the pocket as opposed to just big guys just kind of bull rushing guards or tackles. Like you had a really good athletic pass rush, and that to me was the biggest difference in terms of what we saw. Another thing was discipline. We really did a good job of not committing penalties,
Yep.
both sides of the ball, and overall, it just felt like we were in position all game long. Whether it was a player in the secondary or a linebacker, we were in position all game long. There was no wide receiver running free and people saying who's supposed to be guarding that guy. That was it was very technically sound performance, and then you had a good cohesive unit, but you also had individual guys performing. That's all you can ask for. Like you have, it looks like we've had both times where it looks like we kind of know where we're supposed to be, but we just don't have the talent, or where we have talent, we have individual guys out there who are good players, but they just don't play good team defense.
Right.
This looked like a good combination of both, and that's you have to in order to shut out a team like that. So that was really impressive to me. And then Weslowski, I think in particular, that looked like one of the best performances that we've seen from him. And it just, I think, it goes to show how important I think it still is to recruit high school guys. As much as sexy as it is to get big names out of the transfer portal, or get guys from this school or guys with this level of production in another school, like if you really actually develop your guys, I think that pays a lot of dividends. Even in a new scheme, Weslowski just being here and being a leader to the young guys, and just actually having a chance to develop on the field instead of just saying, "Hey, plug and play. We bring in this guy for 1 year and then we replace him with another guy." Like you actually have that continuity and that ability to progress your team organically. So I really liked seeing some of the guys who have been here look like new players and look like developed, improved players.
Yeah, sure.
I guess going over to offense now, the one I'll start up with the one negative was that obviously we didn't run the ball very well. We didn't run the ball on kind of the design runs, and we didn't really touch on their coach. But I forget what his name is, but last week in his press conference, about the only things that he really had to say about Drew Mestemaker was that his ability as a runner. And I think every North Texas fan who saw that was kind of like, does he really not know? Like, does he really have that little level of understanding of Drew Mestemaker? And it did seem like they were packed in to stop the run, and I think they did a pretty good job. Watching it live, it felt like, come on, guys, like why can't we run the ball better? And then watching the replay or watching it the next day, it felt like there were some times where we were just kind of outflanked. They had more guys, they had the numbers on us, and it was hard there. Mackenzie McGill, in particular, I think on some of his runs, the numbers were not stacked in our favor. So
Yeah.
I'll give a little bit of credit there, but they just they could not stop our passing game. And Drew Mestemaker was putting about, like you said, about every ball was catchable, and he looked confident in the pocket. So what was your impression of kind of what you saw out of the offense on Saturday?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway, I guess, would be that it was so spread out.
Yeah.
This feels, at least through game one, like a team that's going to be able to have a lot of different guys to rely on, which can work. Obviously, you look at how successful our offense has been in the last couple of years. It was because primarily they had one guy they could consistently feed. Like last year was DT Sheffield, year before Jamori Macklin. We don't have that this year. We don't have one guy who's like the primary red flag for defenses. Having said that, the guys that we can wing it to and the guys that are our options are really good options. Wyatt Young is a guy we've known is talented for a while. I mean, I don't remember how long he hadn't played receiver for, but I know he used to not be a wide receiver. And every time I watch him, dude, he looks like a wide receiver. Like he plays ball like a wide receiver. So whatever they did in the lab with him to get his form down and whatever, like it worked. So I loved seeing that. Like you said, I think the running game, I don't know if it's a ton to read into. I don't love that Kiefer Sibley was our lead rusher with 38 yards and he had a long of, I think, 30. That's not super. That's not awesome. But I don't know that it really so much looked as like a we're getting beat type situation. I'm watching Jaden Beck's run out there, not to criticize, but I think some guys were just trying to make too much happen.
Yeah, agreed.
And I don't think that's anything to worry about going forward. I don't think this team's going to struggle to run the ball at all. But yeah, it definitely would have been a little bit more promising, I'll say, if they had been able to squeak out 50 to 100 more rushing yards. Uh,
Mhm.
if we're talking about, because I think we ended the game at like what 460 something total, some odd yards. Do you have the total up?
Yeah, let me see. 462.
462. Okay, I mean that's fine for a 51-0 win, but normally if you look at a team that wins a game 51-0 against an FCS opponent, you're probably thinking 500 to 600 yards of offense in a 51-0 game. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's anything to be concerned about, but definitely, something to keep an eye on going into week two. But um, I don't know, man. I think, like I said, White Young had a great game. Super, super enthused by that. Um, no reason at all to be concerned about Drew Messmaker at this point. Uh, I think that he looked as composed as he could have, and uh, didn't force guys to make crazy catches. I think we had a couple guys tumbling into the end zones at points and
Yeah.
having some cool spin moves, but none of it was because Drew Mestamaker was throwing the ball willy nilly. So that was fun. Um, did not like that I saw Baron Tipton get beat up in that game. I went back and watched it the second time, and the poor guy just kept getting lit up.
Yeah.
And he just kept getting hit blindside, which kind of sucks because I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from him in game one. So it wasn't really his fault, but he kept getting hits from places he wasn't ready for. So I would like to see Baron Tipton have a better game week two. But again, not his fault. Not his fault. But yeah, I mean, everybody. Simeon had a great game. I think he only had one catch, but I liked his route running a lot. I see a lot of Turner Smiley in him and the way he runs and
Yeah.
creates space for any fans of the old 2017, 2016 teams. Yeah, I think it was a good offensive performance, and everybody should be very happy about what they did just with running the ball. I don't think it's too much to read into. Maybe just try to make too much happen and simplify things week two against Western Michigan. But yeah, as far as the passing offense goes, great stuff. Offensive line did a great job of protecting Drew too. Um, so they mentioned Gabe Blair a couple times on the broadcast too, which was nice. I feel like he's just one of those guys that maybe doesn't get the flowers he should. I always kind of feel for those like long-term starters, especially in these days, like the long-term
Yeah.
starters for smaller schools. Guys like Gabe Blair deserve their flowers. So it was nice to see that he got mentioned a couple times on the broadcast. But yeah, I don't remember if Drew got sacked
No
a
sacks.
ton. No sacks. Yeah, I don't remember seeing him super pressured. And he even made a couple throws where, like, when he did get pressured and had limited space to move, he still made there was that one pass to. Do you know what pass I'm talking about?
Dorner.
Yes, yeah, it was a pass to
Yeah.
Dorner where he got down to like the 10 or 15, I think.
Mm.
It was probably like a 40-yard pass, but he had guys probably about three different
Yeah, I
directions.
think Braden Nelson got beat off the edge there, and the guy was coming for him off the edge, but like you said, he had the presence of mind to step up a little bit, and it looked closer live than when they showed the replay. It looked like he was a little bit further away, but yeah, that was the one where it looked like live, like there was some pressure coming, and he had to get rid of the ball when he did.
Yeah, that was a great pass. That was a great pass. There's multiple guys within 3 to 5 feet of him, and
Yeah.
still just delivers a bullet. So those are passes where, kind of like I talked about how White Young looks like a wide receiver, even though he really wasn't one for a long time. Drew Mestamaker wasn't a quarterback for a long time, and he made passes on Saturday that quarterbacks make, like good quarterbacks. So it wasn't one of those games where you just are really efficient and just great against an inferior opponent. It was one of those games where like guys who needed to step up and kind of establish themselves did. And so, like I said, you don't have one guy carrying the team this year on offense, unsimilar to the last couple of years. This is going to be a team thing. You got to talk about on defense too, but as exciting as it was to see the defense come together as a unit, it felt like the offense did too. So yeah, I think it was just a great team win. I don't know the last time UNT played this good of a team game, but it's a great team win. That's my final take on on Lamar.
Yeah. And to your point about the receiving group, so Cameron Dorner led the team with 7 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Wyatt Young, 4 catches, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then Miles Coleman, 5 catches, 52 yards. I think Dorner, Young, and Coleman, they were all different plays where Mestamaker, I think, showed a lot of confidence in them. In particular, Coleman, you could tell that's his safety valve. That's his comfort zone
Yep,
where
for sure.
when it got to third down, Coleman picked up, I think, 2 third and like third and 14s in just he got in the soft spot in the middle of the zone, and then he made a really impressive play with the ball in his hands after he caught it short of the stick. So you can tell Messmaker has a lot of confidence in Miles Coleman, one, and then two, Coleman obviously is a good player in his own, but then also, like I said, he threw one up down the sideline to Cam Dorner. It was just like a 50-50 ball, and you could tell he had confidence in Dorner to throw that
Yep.
ball up. And then Wyatt Young, his first touchdown in the end zone, he was covered, and Mestamaker still had confidence to put it on him and Young to go up and make the catch, and he did in the back of the end zone. So
Mm-hmm.
both those three guys, like I said, Mestamaker in his first real start or first start this season at least with this current iteration of the team, he showed confidence in those three guys to where, like you said, maybe we don't have a true number one receiver, but the guys that we do have, he's confident in. He's not
Yeah.
just he's not just throwing to them reluctantly or throwing to the guy who's open. You can tell certain situations he is looking at guys. He did go through his progressions well, but again, there were times where you could tell those were his primary targets, and he went to them with confidence, and they showed why. Like you said, Wyatt Young, yeah, he looks like a receiver. That I think was a big difference from last year.
Yeah,
He had
for
a
sure.
solid year last year, but you could tell he looked a lot more like a receiver, and his route running was a lot more crisp. There were times last year where we'd throw the ball to him downfield, and he'd kind of do the thing where you put your hands up a little too early, waiting for the ball, and it's not quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like this game, he looked like a receiver. He didn't put his hands up until it was time to catch the ball. He was running until then, and he was running open, running into big areas. He almost scored on that first drive, or
Yep.
I think it was the first drive. So he almost scored. That would have been 3 touchdowns for him today, or this past game. So he made a big impact there in the first game, and then beyond that, yeah, I think it was just the offensive line. I think they played pretty well. I would have liked to see a little bit better run blocking, but I think that it was mostly scheme. So we'll see if it
Yeah.
does continue to be an issue. We'll see. We'll definitely make note of it. It's something to just kind of keep an eye on. But yeah, again, against Western Michigan, you're really going to need that. So one thing I want to mention about the two stats. So in the last 10 times that we played FCS opponents, we have won 3 of those games by 40 or more points. The other 2 were 2017 and 2018. So our two 9-win teams, they beat their FCS opponents those seasons by more than 40 points.
Yeah.
The other years, we failed to do so, and we failed to win more than 7. I think the next biggest margin of victory against an FCS team was the 2022 team that went on to win 7 games. They beat Texas Southern 59-27, so 32-point margin. So again, I think there's something to say about how much you beat
Mm-hmm.
these FCS opponents by. Like I said, it has seemingly been telling the last 10 years or so of the teams that win those games by more points are the ones that go on to have the better seasons.
Right.
And then another thing is if you look at the first start of the season for the 3 kind of Morris era quarterbacks, uh, Chandler Rogers at Louisiana Tech, his first actual start in 2023. Chandler Morris last year against South Alabama, and then Mestamaker this year against Lamar. The 3 quarterbacks combined for over 1,000 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions, over 70% completion percentage. So he is not only has Eric Morris brought good quarterback play to North Texas, but he's also got them ready to go early, ready to go right off the bat. So I think that's really promising that they come in, they have a successful offseason, and they're ready to go game 1. As for game 2, yeah, like you said, Western Michigan, they lost their first game to Michigan State by a score of 23-6. They got a pick 6 late in the game. Otherwise, they were pretty much shut out all game long. I think their offense is kind of their weak spot. They they're still trying to find, I think, who their quarterback's going to be. They played 2 quarterbacks, and it sounds like they're going to keep playing 2 until they figure that situation out. So there's the whole adage of if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none situation going on there. And I think Lowry was their backup last year. He's kind of one of their co-starters this year. Then another guy, I think his name's something Jones. They got him from JUCO, Brock Jones or Brady Jones. So pretty good running back. I think that's probably where they want it. What they want to be doing is running the ball, playing good defense, getting a lead, and then kind of playing with that lead. So for us, for me, I think the magic number is going to be 20 points. I don't see them scoring more than 20 points. I can't imagine them scoring 3 touchdowns against our defense, and I don't think they'll score 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals and get more than 20 points. So I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I think if our offense, it's going to be a much harder game than Lamar, but I think if our offense can kind of get north of 21 or so points, I think we should win. What are you kind of looking at this game as far as kind of what you're expecting or maybe have an eye on?
Yeah. As far as having an eye on one specific thing, I was a little bit. I don't think Michigan State's a great team, and one of the players I had circled on, not trying to get too far ahead, but kind of looking at this Western Michigan team as our first FBS challenge this year. Jalen Buckley, their running back, was a guy who I circled as like, okay, this is the guy we need to watch out for. He had a great year last year. Figured he might pop off against Michigan State and kind of be the guy to carry that offense. No, he had 9 carries for 21 yards. So I don't know a ton about Michigan State, but I don't know who they brought in the portal. But I mean, that's not a great game. And from what I watched, he didn't have a ton of gaps to work with. But this is going to be definitely a better running back test for this front 7. So definitely going to keep an eye on that. It's a good chance to win a road game. I know last year we had the South Alabama win, but these key road games that felt so they felt few and far between under Seth Littrell.
Yeah.
Last year we got a couple big ones. I know FAU wasn't a good team last year, but that was like a big road win. We especially after the couple times they beat us in recent years. It was nice to go into Boca and actually come out with a win. That was
I want to say that that in 2018 when we won at Liberty, when UNT went into Liberty and won that game 47-7, Seth Littrell never won another FBS non-conference road game. So
did he? We beat Western his last year, I think.
Western well, that was conference though. I meant non-conference.
Oh, non-conference. Yeah.
He never won another FBS non-conference road game.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's a big opportunity to go get a win on the road. Michigan State ran the ball really well against Western Michigan. I think they had 4.5 yards per carry. I think they had check my notes. Yeah, 186 rush yards for 4.5 yards per carry. So that's really good. And I would argue we probably have at least a better projected running back stable than Michigan State. At least as far as returning production and talent goes, I think we have pretty good running backs. So if it's not better, it's close. And I think we can definitely have a little bit more success running the ball against Western Michigan. They might be a little bit more amped to come home after a loss to a P3 team. And, maybe the energy will be there, but they looked rattled. I didn't watch the full game, but I watched the highlights from their game against Michigan State. They turned it over twice in Michigan State territory. They missed a field goal, so they seemed a little bit rattled and just unable to kind of produce anything themselves. And even though Michigan State only scored 23 points, I think Western Michigan is kind of a middle-of-the-pack MAC team. Their defense wasn't great last year. They struggled defending the run last year too. So I do think we will run the ball better on Saturday. I think that's definitely kind of what everybody's keeping an eye on, especially after you didn't do it well against Lamar. But this does feel like an opportunity where it's okay, this is a team that doesn't defend against the run that well, and they just gave up 4.5 yards per carry week one. So I know it's Michigan State. I know it's Big Ten athletes, but still, that's a FBS opponent going to play another team and giving up 186 rush yards. So
Yeah.
you have that to work with. But yeah, I think this is mostly viewed as a 50-50. I think the FPI has us at 50-50. And where did we opened as 10-point favorites?
Yeah.
Which is odd considering Vegas has a lot of confidence in us and the analysis does not. Maybe because we're a young team, I don't know, but I feel good. I mean, I feel as good as you can going into this game. It feels like a team that we can go in and beat. I don't. I did my projections for everybody this year. I don't have Western Michigan winning more than like 7 or 8 games at best, but they did improve last year. They're in Lance Taylor's third season, and they went 4-8 and 23, and they actually started out 5-3 last year. So
Yeah.
they lost a couple of games down the stretch. They were really close. So I think they were definitely a under the radar sub 500 team.
Yeah, and they started off 4-0 in conference last year too.
Yeah, they had a great start. So they played a lot of teams close. They're not a rollover. Going to any Big Ten team's house and only allowing 23 points is impressive.
Yeah.
But it also, from what I saw in that game, it never looked like they really had a chance against better competition. So I would hope that we are closer in daunting athleticism to Michigan State than we are with Western Michigan. We'll see. But I don't think this is a game we need to really, really be too concerned about. I hope that we can go in and kind of like you said, we're going to give up points. I think this defense will bend a little bit on Saturday, but I think if you can get in there, establish some sort of running game, Drew has more time to get comfortable against a average defense or average secondary, I should say.
Yeah.
Then. Yeah, I think things will go good. We did, like you mentioned against Lamar, we only had 3 penalties.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the penalty numbers up, but I don't know the last time UNT won a game because they had 3 penalties. That's like a really, really important stat. If you only commit 3 penalties in a game, you're probably going to win. So I really liked how disciplined we played. It felt week one like we had composure and unity. And it really felt like a different brand of North Texas football, kind of the same but different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel confident going into this week that the vibes will carry over. We can do predictions later, but I do feel good about this game. I think this is a game we can run the ball well in. I think we'll be able to pass a little bit. I don't think the defense will fluster too much. I do think there might be a little bit more room for error in this game, but. We created 2 turnovers last week. Get another turnover this week. Keep the vibes going. So,
yeah, they had a couple guys on their defense that stood out to me in what I did see from them. Nadame Tucker is a new defensive end that they got. I think I'm saying his name right, but he was a career backup at Houston, and he came in and immediately had 2 sacks and a forced fumble against Michigan State. That kind of caught my eye. Where it's a guy who hadn't shown much at the FBS level so far in his career, but maybe, the right spot, the right team. And he was, he's a talented guy who just maybe hadn't had the opportunity. So that to me is something to keep an eye on, because again, just, keeping Mestamaker upright was such a pivotal point in our success. Can you do that with maybe a little bit more pass rush? They also had a couple linebacker sacks too. So I think this will be a much more challenging situation in terms of the pass rush that he's going to be facing, both the defensive line pass rush and the blitzing situation. And then the guy who scored their 1 touchdown was Tate Hallock. He is a 6'4" safety. He's is his 3rd year starting for them. He had 4 interceptions last year. He was 2nd team All MAC last season. So he's a really good player in their secondary. I think that might be their kind of their best player on their defense. So that'll be interesting to see if he's a guy who maybe we try and avoid, or if we just kind of target him in the pass game, despite him being, one of their better players. How does that situation play out? Maybe is he somebody we try and get smaller, shiftier guys like Coleman or Young matched up against instead of maybe our taller guys. So again, I think they've got some talent on that defense. That should
Sure.
pose, I think, a pretty good challenge for us, especially in their stadium. So and like you mentioned, Jalen Buckley at running back, he rushed for over 1,000 yards 2 seasons ago in 2023. So he is for them, for Western Michigan. So he's an experienced player, and has had success in his career at the FBS level. So he's definitely a guy you don't want to take lightly. But I think the passing game, if you want to make their quarterbacks beat you, you don't want Buckley to beat you because their quarterbacks just didn't look very great, and they're inexperienced. Like I said, Brady Jones coming from a JUCO, and then Brock Lowry was the backup for
Who
them last
spells
year.
his name without a K, by the way?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
short for broccoli?
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he came from Indiana, and last year he transferred from Indiana 2023, came in last year, backed up their quarterback who just about took all the snaps. So yes, Broccoli, Lowry, whatever his preferred, I guess, abbreviation would be. Yeah, he didn't play great. Does seem like a pretty athletic quarterback. Last year he had 133 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, despite only throwing for 21 yards. So I think that he is kind of a more of a running threat at this point in his career. So that's something obviously to keep an eye on. I think we have the defense, the structure to kind of prevent rushing quarterbacks or scrambling quarterbacks from really killing us, but we've
Yeah.
seen it time and time again. So, there's always a little bit of that worry that might end up being the case. But yeah, I think, like I said earlier when I talked about them, I think that the sort of that 20-ish point mark, I just, with how well our defense played and how good they look. Also, they get David Fisher coming back at cornerback. They were playing without him. I think that with our defense, I don't expect Western Michigan to get much more than 20 points. Now, it will be important for our offense and our special teams to not allow them to score on that side, because I think if you make Western Michigan score, 24, 28 points, just offense alone, to beat us, I think you're going to win that game. I don't think that they can keep up with us in that regard. But like I said, it's important that Drew Messemaker's first career road start, can he, probably his first start of his entire life outside of the state of Texas, can he do a good job of protecting the ball, making the plays, but also not, that's why we lost the Texas State game, is because he had some critical turnovers where he didn't see the blitz coming and fumbled once, and then he threw a interception on a busted screenplay.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff is how I think you can lose this game, because like I said, I don't think their offense just on their own are going to be able to score enough points to beat you. But if you get stuff like that mixed in, and they get short fields, or they get just straight up touchdowns from defense or special teams, that's where we could lose this game. But yeah, again, I think that we just have so much talent right now offensively, and I think we have so many different guys who can do different things. Dorner, Young, Coleman, Side should be back. Simeon Evans, like you said, he had one drop, but he also had that really impressive catch and run for 30 yards. Terrence Lewis, I thought, looked really good as a true freshman. Only had one
Yep.
catch, but I think he's a guy who can make a flash play here and there, whenever we need it. But yeah, I think that ability to spread out the ball is really going to be important against this Western Michigan defense that's going to have some more talent to put up against us. So, how do you see the game playing out?
Yeah. I think that this will be a closer game. I think 51-0 is on the table again. Like you mentioned, this is Drew's first start away from Apogee outside of the bowl game.
Thank you.
We'll have to see if he can go not go 0 for 2 in trying to stay away from puking in games away from DATQ.
Yeah.
Poor kid. But this is, I think this is a perfect test for him. This is, like you said, a team that's, they don't really have anybody on the offensive side that's going to explode and beat you over the top. I know Balin Brooks had a really good game against Michigan
Yeah.
State. He had like 80 receiving yards, but um, I don't know. I don't think there's anybody on this team that screams like, oh, this is a guy that's going to torch us, and we're just going to have like kind of going into the South Alabama game last year. We knew Gio Lopez was going to have a great game, and he did. You know, it's just kind of you have those games on the schedule sometimes, and we have a couple this year. Um, this is not one of those games. No disrespect to Western Michigan, but they did lose a lot of talent in the transfer portal too over the offseason. Um, so I think they're semi restarting over, and at least from watching one game, I don't see anybody on the offensive side who's gonna give us nightmares all game. Like you said, we might give up 20 to 30 points, but um, I mean, even best case for them, if Jalen Buckley has his first great game of the year, or if one of their quarterbacks catches a stride, I don't think either of them are enough of a game changer to make this like a 10, 15 point swing and make us lose a game. So
Yeah.
Definitely, we'll just have to see. They're well coached. They did well in close games last year. I know they lost a bunch of them, but they do a good job of competing and staying in games. And that's those are the kinds of games that Morris has not really won a ton of here yet. So definitely want to see that. If the game is close, can we edge out the 10 to 12 point win and kind of control it in the second half? That would be nice to see. I'd be honest. I'd rather see us win this game along the 30 to 17 type lines than I would like a 49 to 12. Like I would rather see us kind of have to go on the road, get tested a little bit. Because I do think Western Michigan's a decent team. Like I said, I think they're kind of a middle of the pack MAC. I don't think they're going to end up winning the conference or anything, but this is a decent road test.
Yeah.
And if we do lose, I don't think it would be anything. It'd be sad, but I don't think. I wouldn't have chalked this up as a loss on the schedule, but I won't be furious if we lose this game because we have a lot of question marks on the offense still with guys who just haven't really proven themselves yet. We have questions after Lamar, even after a 51-0 win. So, I like I said, I'm confident. I don't think we're going to have any issues, but there are going to be some questions here. If Morris can outcoach a guy who did have a great year last year, I would say for Western Michigan, if they could have just won a couple more of those, one-score games. I think they had like 5 losses where they lost by like a score or less. So, I think this will be a good test and nothing more. I'm going to call it a win, but we can do score predictions at the end. But I do feel good about this game. I feel comfortable as a 10-point favorite. I feel comfortable that Landon Size is on the depth chart, so we might get a little bit of receiver depth added there.
Yeah.
And yeah, the opponents are just going to keep getting tougher, man. So this is you beat the crap out of Lamar, and now it's time to up the ante a little bit. So
yeah, for sure.
It's a better litmus test, I think, of where we're at as a team. So I would like to see us run the ball better and win by 10 to 15 points, and I'll be happy.
Yeah. You mentioned depth with Sides back at receiver. I think another area where we saw a lot of depth was on the defensive line. They were kind of touting that coming out of spring or coming out of fall camp, but I hadn't seen it yet. So I was a little bit hesitant because not only had I not seen it, but the players who were providing said depth had not played very much at all at the FBS level. So seeing guys like Kevion Huddleston make plays in the backfield as a backup defensive end, that was really promising to see. Zaylen Scott as a backup to Bryson Hayes, Zaylen Scott had a sack. So you had backup defensive linemen making big plays. That was really promising. That may have been one of the more underrated, promising things that we saw in terms of how does this project forward for the team the rest of the season. So I think
if you can go too deep at the defensive line, it's going to help win us some games. We'll just say that.
Yeah. And this is the kind of game that can help you win a game on the road against a team that likes to run the ball, that's going to try and pound you and try and wear you out as the game goes on. Having a D-line rotation is huge against a team like that. So I think, and like I said, with Lowry earlier, a running quarterback as well, like those kind of things are what wears out a defense. And come fourth quarter, you're, maybe a little bit gassed and give up a big touchdown drive that kind of, swings the game. I think that, this should be a good chance to really see if this defensive line depth is for real. and if they can hold up against a stronger opponent. But yeah, I think that's about it for me. I think I'll go and get my score prediction. I have us winning this one 31-20. That's I think it'll be a comfortable win, but it won't be decided till the end. I think we'll uh, come out and get a little bit of lead and just kind of again keep their offense from making big plays and really threatening us in a way that we kind of feel like the game's going to swing in their favor. So that's what I got. 31-20, another good defensive outing where maybe they score a little bit, but again we keep things from getting out of hand and we kind of keep control of the game.
I like it. All right, I'll go. I'm going to give my Mean Green Boys a vote of confidence here. I think we win this game 45-20. I'm kind of siding with you. I think there will be a little bit of some, defensive regression a little bit into a tougher opponent. We're not beating them 51-0. I don't think. If we do, then that's pretty
Plan the
awesome.
parade.
Yes, that's right. Realistically, man, I think that if you asked me to plan this game out, I would say let's keep it close in the first half and pull away and
Yeah.
outcoach them and win a game in the trenches. I think we have a better offensive and defensive line than they do. So I think we should be able to run the ball well. I think we can create pressure on whoever's playing quarterback for them.
Yeah.
Get a couple sacks. They really struggled on 3rd and 4th downs against Michigan State. So if that's something we can do again to, get off the field and give our offense more time to work with, I mean, I really feel like this is a team that we can go in and handily beat. Not blow out, not smoke, but a team that we can just go in and beat soundly as a good football team should. I think this is a good test for them. So real quick before I give my score prediction, I have 2 shout-outs I want to give. My guy Trey Fields.
Yeah.
The sickest interception I've ever seen one-handed against Lamar. We didn't mention it. I just wanted to give him a quick shout-out for that. That was awesome. Like I said in my preview pods, he's my defensive captain. He's the guy that I think at the end of the year we're going to be really most proud of on the defensive side. He's the leader. Just loved seeing a highlight play like that. That was sick. And then the students, by the way, that was a really, really good student crowd. It was raining all day, and weather was gross, and we were playing a FCS opponent, and the student section was packed, to the brim. It wasn't a great crowd overall, but the student section was awesome. So if any students are listening to this, good job. Keep going.
Good job, and continue watching college football. You're gonna, it'll be a memory you have, and it's a fun experience. So I don't think I have to be the one to tell you that.
That was like the least hype opponent we play all year. Like we have good games coming to Denton this year. So you get UTSA, you get not Army, Navy. Navy's here.
Yeah, Navy's here. Yeah,
Navy's here. Yeah, Washington State's here. You get good games. So if you're a student listening to this, good job. Keep going. But yeah, I just want to applaud the students real quick. But yeah, my score prediction, I'm going to go 45-20. I think the UNT Mean Green are 2-0 for the second year in a row. And I think we're feeling really, really good about this team after Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be fun if we can indeed secure the 2-0 record going into a Washington State home game. That'll make for a good build-up going into that game. Should be a lot of people there. Hopefully, there are a lot of people there regardless. But
I will be there.
Definitely want to be there. Yeah, nice. I hope to be as well. But I will be at Western Michigan this week as well. So I'm making the trip out. So if you're listening and you see me, say hi. You'll
have to give us a review of Kalamazoo.
Yeah, I will. Hopefully, I don't plan on spending too much time in Kalamazoo because we're going to be visiting family in the Chicago area. But yeah, I do want to spend most of the day on Saturday at least out there. So yeah, it'll be fun. Looking forward to it. First time in MAC territory. So yeah, looking forward to that. But all right, well, yeah, if you listen this far, thank you very much. And looking forward to Saturday. Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green. 2-0.